Hello, I'm conducting an interview with Vadim, who is a regressologist or a regression therapist. I'm going to ask him a few questions about regressology.
Hi, I'm ready to answer.
Okay, Vadim, what is regression therapy? What is a regression therapy session, and how can it help your clients?
Regressive therapy is a technique that allows to send a person to the past, where he received some kind of psychological trauma, which allowed him to limit himself in some way, to accept a certain rule of the template and live conformity in later life using this template and live in accordance with these rules. Thus, he limits himself in some way. This method allows you to go back in time and change it to work it out. The fact is that even at these moments during psychotrauma, there is a loss of energy, some kind of closure or blockage of their abilities. We return these energies to a person, and new opportunities open up for them. New ways. What was originally intended for them by birth. A person's problems die.
Yeah, how are the exorcism and regression therapies related?
It was I who joined it. Actually, the founder, Michael Newton, who wrote the book, The Journey of the Soul, he didn't do exorcism, he simply conducted regressive sessions. I managed to join exorcism with regression, and we now own this technology. It has gone far beyond regression, and we use regression there already quite a bit. We mainly deal with exorcism and psychological practices that allow a person from one level to rise to another, several levels higher.
How do you conduct a regression session with your clients?
So our clients first look at our posts on YouTube, somewhere in other social networks. If they like them, if they see that they have similar problems, and they see that a person is being helped here, they feel it the most important thing here. They feel in their heart that these guys will help me. They can help me work through something to improve their life. A woman to find a man to find a woman, someone who wants to work out a request with money from their implementation. And so they turn to us. They choose a regressologist. The point is, when we immerse a person, we take another clairvoyant. This allows you to see much more than if a person would work with one regressologist. That is, clairvoyants help to see the reasons of the problems. They see entities, what they have done, and they help the client on the subtle plane to correct the situation. And in general, the client may not see anything. He may be very worried about the example, or be under some magical influence and not see the reasons for his problems. And the clairvoyant helps. This is the first main difference between other teams and we regressologists. Then he dials the phone or writes in social networks to our administrator, agrees for our group to choose a service, figure out the price, and to arrange the session. Then a client receives instructions on how to prepare for the session. They come to the session, they meet with a regressologist, the session begins, it lasts about 3 hours in the main session. Those who pass the main session have the right to order one more hour a little in the future to solve some local problems. After the main session has passed, we give 2 weeks and conduct another small, short session in the region of an hour just to check what has been done. What has not been done? Something that needs to be finalized or corrected. And this second correction session, which is included in the payment for the main one, allows you to sometimes do the most important things and discoveries that could not be done in the first main session, because a person has problems with many layers, and it is impossible to remove all the layers at once. You can only shoot in layers, and just the second correction session is very useful and very necessary, very effective, and our developed method allows for effective cleaning practice.
Vadim, what condition or state are your clients in during a regression therapy session?
This is a state of altered consciousness. In this state, a person can be in this state many times a day. When we think, we fly away with our thoughts. We do it every day. We think about something, fly somewhere, dream. We have a picture in our head. This is called an altered state of consciousness. Our client is in the same state. He is in a conscious state. He can, at any moment, get up and leave. He realizes who he is, where he is. In our technique, there is no circus or pop hypnosis. No need to stick needles in and the like. This is a simple altered state of consciousness.
Vadim, how should the patient prepare for your session?
I'll tell you honestly, you need to be mature for our sessions. Our sessions are not suitable for everyone. They are suitable for people who have already worn out their lives, who understand that they can no longer solve problems, and no matter what they do, they cannot succeed. And at this moment, a person realizes that he cannot live without someone's help, and that he needs some help. He cannot figure out in his life why this is happening. Sometimes the same events are repeated at intervals of several years. The same scenario of women with men, or vice versa. And getting on our channel, on our video, this is the first sign that they can be helped here. Either the information that is in our video, or having come from our session, a person receives this help. We help them solve any problems. That is, here, first you need to feel with your heart. If this is a feeling, a sensation, so I can find it, so I can understand it. This is here, so you can make contact here.
How long, Vadim, does a past life regression session last?
In our experience, sometimes in one session we may not even get into a past life, because there may be many problems a person has in this life. All problems in childhood are opened up, and we first solve the most important things. At the beginning of the session, we find the main moments that have happened to the person in this life. It is these points that were fundamental, or the main ones causing a person problems. If some part is in a past life, we go there and correct there. If they are not there, we can simply not go there. And so our session lasts about 3 hours, the main session plus one corrective session for 1 hour. And you can also book a 2-hour session. In the future, you can order hourly, but the first session is either 2 or 4 hours, 3 plus 1.
Who are the clairvoyants?
Good question. So these are people who have a subtle vision. They have a third eye. They come with abilities that are already more open, which allows them to see the invisible world. Our eyes can see only a little, about 5% of what is around us. We do not see everything else. Our physical eye is not intended for this. We can only see the physical world, and so the rest of the world is seen through the third eye. These guys are clairvoyants. Their third eyes are developed. Plus, we also have some techniques that allow us to improve their vision. They can see entities, aliens, communicate with them, read information from them. These guys are called clairvoyants, or consciousness operators.
How do they see patients during the session, and why should clients be able to trust them?
The question of trust is the most important. You have to trust your feelings right here, your soul. If a person comes to us, he already believes us. He has already watched many sessions, examples of sessions, and he can feel who can help him, what kind of regressologist, what kind of clairvoyant, or a certain pairing of regressologist and clairvoyant. And the client can sign up. The first most important thing is that the clairvoyant in the session tells the client what happened in his life without knowing this person. That is, the clairvoyant sees the client for the first time, and when he is immersed, he says everything that happened in the client's life. Sometimes the client says, "No, no, you looked wrong." And then he remembers, "Oh yes, I had such a case," as if I had not remembered about it all my life. How did you see it? After such moments, there is complete trust. Then he sees his aura, sees the color, sees the effects on this aura, sees the entities that are inside the person. What do they do with him? The clairvoyant sees all this. Who is the master of the soul? Who is the master of life? What energies are downloaded from it? How do they interfere with him in life? All these moments, with the help of our specialist, the clairvoyant, conveys and voices this and helps the client see. My clients often see somewhere around 70 to 90%. I immerse them. They also see beings, and I teach the client how to proceed with these beings or with these energies in the future, what to do with them, how to cleanse yourself, something like that.
How are the clairvoyants different from the other members of your team?
A regressologist is a person who is highly spiritual and high frequency. He went through all the main lessons in his life and got onto our team. And not everyone can get onto our team. We have a very strict selection process, and the people who work for us are very clean people, spiritually, energetically, very strong. These people went through fire, copper pipes. There is such a proverb in Russian. That is, they received a huge life experience in all respects. Since they have passed their lessons, they know how to live right. They have a matrix of happiness inside them. They have a divine right to share this matrix of happiness. They can teach a person how to be happy. These people conduct a session. They know how to ask the question, where to direct a person, where to direct the clairvoyant, what the clairvoyant should do. The clairvoyant is in a supine position with eyes closed, as if they're sleeping. But in fact, they work on a subtle plane. They listen to the regressologist and carry out his commands. We also have tasks that clairvoyants already know, and they perform them without the regressologist's command in certain situations.
Why should clients be able to trust you?
The most important thing is that a person should resonate right here with a soul they may not trust. But if there is a review here, and they feel it rightly, it is. In addition, they carefully watch our videos and believe that these guys can solve the problem. The most important thing is to believe in yourself, your feelings and sensations, and then you can trust. But I won't be offended if clients don't trust.
How are the members of regresologists of your team different from the others on your team?
Good question. So I answered a similar question a little earlier. First, I do not teach everyone who comes to us and pays money. Other regressologists do it like that, teach everyone who pays money. I don't believe in that. So the first most important thing, as I believe, is that my wife and I have fulfilled our main tasks. We have gone through life lessons. We have risen in vibrations to a sufficiently high level. With each rise to the next level, it turned out that we were given admissions, certain admissions to work with people. For example, we can get a soul from hell. At some point, I realized that I could do this after certain exams that were given to me from above. Since 2015, I have realized that I can shoot magic, and have done it for 5 years. I remove magical influences from people. In order to engage in healing, one must be of a very high level of spiritual development and be high frequency. The level of luminosity must be high. Such a person can, when he has a matrix of happiness, attract similar guys, train them, and together they are already a team, a single whole, and they have great power. They also have a divine right to help heal people. This is what I'm talking about with our team. Other teams gather to make more money together. They have no divine clearance. They have not passed their life lessons. 98% of these regressologists, since they have not completed their lessons, they do not know how to live correctly. They do not have a matrix of happiness. They have nothing to pass on to patients. They do not know how to treat them. The only thing is that they can remove any one entity, solve a small problem, but since they begin to work with people to purify them, they begin to deal with these because of their ego. The ego program is the dark side program. If a person works from his ego, then demonic beings, aliens, entities, parasites come to him and begin to control him. And this regressologist becomes an employee of the parasitic system, and recruiting the same people who have not passed their lessons, they also become employees of the parasitic system. On the one hand, they perhaps can help people, but the entities that stand behind them will take much more. We do not have such parasites, since we have passed through our life lessons. Something like this.
Who do you connect to on a spiritual level during a regression session?
Only with my Father, single source of divine consciousness. There are no intermediaries between our source and me. No one can be. If there are intermediaries, this does not mean that. Just my dad and me.
What type of questions, is it possible during a regressive therapy session to see the client's past lives?
Yes, you can.
What are the entities? Are there entities around us? And how do they affect us?
Everything around us is energy. Absolutely everything is energy, and the quality of these energies is great. And these creatures, these are energy clots. Some have a rigid program, behavior, and living. For others, it is not so tough. They have some kind of freedom. But mostly, as a rule, it's energy that performs certain clear tasks. It is programmable energy that performs tasks, mainly to collect energy from a person. These entities lack the ability to generate these energies. They can only be released by the processed energy that we produce. And their task is to make sure that we give them these energies as much as possible, and this gives them the right to live. Secondly, the more energies they collect from people, this will make their hierarchies stronger and higher. There are a lot of creatures around us. In each person, from several hundred to several thousand creatures of various kinds, ranging from small creatures like astral worms to large ones that are in, on, and behind us, which control our life, deprive us of something, make us generate the energies of suffering. This is their life.
Are some people more likely to attract entities than other people?
Yes, it is. For example, there are people who live in a state of sacrifice. As a rule, such programs are entered inside them, in most cases from their past lives. These are the programs that were laid inside them during a war, slavery times, when slavery flourished. And in this life, people complain. They're in the emergency of despondency, grief and sadness and discontent. Thereby, they attract their lives' entities, because these energies belong to the energy of the anti-world. When people use these energies, they invite these entities and they enter into them. The more negative character traits a person has, the more entities he has. The brighter a person is, the more loving and happier he is. The more a person knows how to forgive, the fewer entities he or she already has, and the more he is on a different energy level.
How can you get rid of these entities?
First of all, you can partially cleanse yourself by learning and changing your character traits. For example, a person does not know how to forgive, and he needs to learn how to do it. I want to ask John, have you ever forgiven anyone?
Have I ever forgiven anybody? Oh, yes.
Yeah.
When did you forgive? What did you feel?
Well, I felt it was long ago when my parents had a car accident, and I forgave the other driver, and it felt better to forgive than not to forgive. I didn't really know the person, but I knew that he was in a bad state himself. And so I understood that bad things can happen to anyone, and this was a bad thing, and it happened to him, but I think that he probably was a normal human being otherwise, and I felt good to let him go, or let him be relieved of my revenge against him.
When you forgive him, did you feel any release that something is light inside of your soul, in your heart, like you just throw something hard from yourself, from your heart, from your soul? Did you feel that the light statement or feeling inside yourself?
Yeah, I felt I could feel relieved. I was traumatized by what happened to my parents, but I didn't relate to this other driver a lot. I just let him go. He just disappeared from my thoughts.
John, when you forgave yourself, freed yourself from this entity which came out of you, it had nothing to hold on to since you cleaned yourself.
Yes, I could live the rest of my life without being obsessed with him.
Yes, it is. Or you need to change your thought patterns to another, and this will also give the entity the opportunity to leave. It will have nothing to feed on. Essences feed on the energies of our suffering, some kind of negative emotions.
That's correct. I never experienced demons myself. I'm not inclined to that kind of thing, but I certainly felt normal. I achieved normalcy, basically.
So this and this happens, but there are moments when the pain is so severe that Humans cannot forgive. John, that's great. He was able to forgive, and there are people who cannot forgive.
Yeah. Well, I will admit that I forgave him, but I haven't forgotten him.
So there is something else left.
Yeah, it was 50 years ago.
Great, he was able to do it. And many people cannot forgive, and they walk with this weight all their lives. And this energy destroys them and launches the energies of resentment and, for example, oncological diseases. These grievances also trigger the energies of the heart and other organs, and we learn how to treat them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do know people that are more susceptible than I am to, obsession with the past. I worry about the past, but I'm not obsessed or overwhelmed by the past. I'm mentally stable.
When a person works through forgiveness, gets rid of these grievances or some other moments, and has a healing, then he recovers. For example, his heart may stop hurting, and the operation is canceled because it is no longer needed. Or the kidneys or liver stop hurting. We help to cleanse this disease. We have experience in the healing of oncological diseases.
The regressologists can help with cancer?
Of course. Cancer is triggered by resentment energies or magical influences. We remove this impact and help the person to work psychologically. Forgive someone, and the disease disappears. The mechanism that triggers this disease, immunity disappears, and the person begins to recover.
Why do some people feel good after some of these regressology practices and then later feel bad?
I explain because these practices were created by some gurus, teachers who are not entirely energetically clean, and behind them there are energy structures of a parasitic nature, destructive development, that is, bad creatures. And their task is to recruit as many people as possible through this guru and take away energies. In order for people to pass, they must give some kind of release, and the person feels good. And then there is a pumping out because they take it away. They give $1 and then they take 3 back.
We say in English, do as I say, not as I do. If a teacher has bad habits, how does this affect the students or your clients?
100% bad. That is, these people came with problems and will leave with even bigger problems.
Can you remove black magic influences?
Yes, I've been doing this for 5 years.
What are tarot cards, and why do so many people use them?
Tarot cards are a mechanism for obtaining information and influencing space. And people do not understand that this is a mechanism, and the one who created it is taking a fee for it for their use. Besides the fact that a person pays money for a tarot reader, he pays the main fee to those who supervise this tarot reader, to these creatures. And people do not know this, and do not know that tarot cards are very harmful. You can't look into the future. This is a violation of the laws of the universe. A person pays the payment for looking at the future with unlived events. An event that he could have lived is withdrawn from the future. Or he is living through this event but does not experience joy and pleasure because it is taken from him. That is, he can receive money or what he was told, but he will not receive joy from this, and experience as such he will receive. There will be no impression. There will be no happiness. They just take it away from him in the form of a fee. People, not knowing this, go there thinking that this is something divine. This is not so. Tarot is a huge deception, and the payment is very large for their happiness, and their children also pay for it. It was created by civilizations that have a destructive vector of development. In other words, dark.
What about mass meditation? Would you recommend taking part in mass meditations?
Definitely not.
Categorically not, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Are there meditations that you would recommend people use? And can these meditations be safe?
There are very few of them. It is necessary that meditation be created by a pure person. Plus, this meditation should not be published publicly, because if it is published on YouTube, then this increases the likelihood that some magician will create an impact, and through this meditation will collect the energy of people.
How can you help someone with panic attacks or depression or bipolar disorders, things like that?
This is exactly what we do. We remove panic attacks. Panic attacks are usually entities which have a different nature. It is necessary to find the reason why they are attacking a person. The reasons may be different and in different lives of the person. The task is to find this reason and remove it, and then the panic attacks stop. We already have masses of healed people, but this does not mean that this can be removed in one session. Sometimes it will take several short sessions because new layers are being opened, and all this needs to be refined, removed, and destroyed, and so forth. There are very cunning alien entities. They hide, and you need find them and remove them, and this process can take more than 1 month.
Can you help, or do patients ask you to clean their house or rid their house of ghosts and entities? And do you help them, help people to get rid of those entities from their homes?
Yes, we clean the house in regressive therapy sessions. Why? Because if we cleaned out a client from entities and not his house, then there are a bunch of entities, portals, magical influences in the house. So then there is no point in a cleaning session. That's why we also clean a client's house.
Do you consider vaccinations beneficial or harmful?
Vaccination is always harmful. It was invented in order to limit humanity and limit some of our abilities and withdraw our energies. Plus, alien beings are conducting various experiments on humanity through vaccinations. Other entities are introduced to us, alien beings, various alien energies, and they watch us, the same way as our scientists study, for example, some rabbits or bacteria. So aliens work through vaccinations and watch what will happen to humanity, and suddenly a human will have autism. And how will it affect him? Why does autism appear in children? This is a blockage of some genes.
Mm-hmm. Do you nullify, in your sessions, do you nullify the bad effects of vaccinations?
People come to us with pictures of their children, and we update the impact of the vaccine and behavior of children. They feel that during the session there is relief, energy begins to flow, some kind of strength, confidence, calmness appears. Healing occurs instantly, and patients write to us that their children began to behave differently, became calmer, began to talk if there were problems with their speech, and so on.
Can you identify the causes of diseases in your sessions?
Yes, we do this first of all. This is the main moment for healing. The cause of the disease must be found out.
So they come to him with problems with diseases. Is that really a motivation for going to him?
The first moment is trouble in life. That is, in life something does not work out. For example, a woman cannot meet a man, and a man cannot meet a woman, or cannot make money. They can't find a job. Then something is wrong in life, and that's why they come to us.
Okay.
Great. I thank John for responding to our request.
Well, you're welcome, and I found the interview to be very interesting. Thank you. I enjoyed it. I learned a lot of things, despite, and you did a good job, a beautiful job, Camilla, of translating.
Oh, thank you.
Apparently you understood everything I said, so I think that's really good.
Well, I'm very glad.
Okay, well, I enjoyed it, and I'm going to go back to my own work, but very nice meeting you, Vadim, and good luck with your regresology.
Thank you. I wish you good health, first of all.
Thank you very much, and Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Доброго, да.
Yeah.